secretaries, and guests. Afternoon. First of all, Madam Senator, I believe this meeting and the previous one really is a meeting that we have to be very transparent in order that we can prevent any loss of lives in the next disaster. So I believe, I just want to make this clear, because in pointing out different facts and situations, it's not finger pointing or blaming anyone. It's really bringing out everything so we can discuss properly, so that we can prevent, or damage this much. Tama ho yung sinasabi ho ni Secretary Suliman, pero on the ground, ang nagiging problema namin, we need some leeway also with regard to COA when it comes to distribution. Because especially disaster areas, obviously, we cannot go by population or by census. Because there will be some barangays that were not hit, doon lilipat yung mga nasalanta ng bagyo. At yung mga disaster area naman, kokonti na lang yung mga nandoon. So we have to be more flexible. And alam niyo ho, mahirap naman pag pumunta doon at magbigay tayo ng 300 kasi yun yung census, pagkatapos meron nakaabang doon ng mga 100 at hindi nabigyan, mag-aaway-away at kawawa naman. Anyway, pagkain naman yan. So these are adjustments I think that we should make. And appreciate the good coordination with the good secretary, and we were able to do that. And tulong-tulong, pati kami in the first couple of days sa gabi, nagdi-deliver na rin kami. Kasi obviously, kaya kung may tao dun sa barangay na yon, dahil obviously, natamaan ng nasa lantang ng Yolanda yon, no? But I'd like to take this opportunity, ma'am, to present this, because I think this is one of the problems that occurred that in fact I think it made the damage and made all of these reparations a problem. When we did the city land use plan, we were helped by GIZ, which is a GNO from Germany, and they gave us several maps, as was mentioned. And one of the maps that they gave us was a storm surge hazard map. And in this map, what is marked red are the areas that have to be evacuated. And yes, that was followed, but obviously after the typhoon, when you look at the damage, it was much more than what was in the storm surge map. In fact, when we were looking over the other maps, what matched the damage in Tacloban City was the tsunami hazard map, which caught everybody by surprise, because even up to 1 kilometer inside, maraming tinamaan ng mga bahay. And you have to understand that when the storm surge came in, marami hong nabuhay. Sa totoo lang, marami rin nabuhay na nasa tabing dagat. Yung mga namatay, yung mga nasa loob. Kasi kung tinamaan ng tubig yung mga bahay nila, and their houses disintegrated, and these big concrete walls were flowing now with the water, that's what hit the other houses. And it became a chain reaction, and that's why a lot of people perished and died. Okay, so I think it's important now that, especially sa Pag-asa, that there must be proper coordination with not only a weather forecaster, but even an oceanographer, and some people, volcanologists, geologists, to explain exactly to the people and to the local government when winds of 350 or 370 kilometers typhoon is coming, you have to evacuate where and how far. So it's clear. Because pag typhoon, alam ninyong lahat na we have to move 48 hours before. That's why in Tacloban City, we evacuated 48 hours before in preparation for this typhoon. Now, the problem being also here is that when we talk of storm surge, you're referring to the height of the water, but not really the velocity and the speed of the water coming in. Now, bakit ang Tacloban ang hardest hit? According to the oceanographers that spoke to us, is that the water and the bay is very shallow. So the contour is quite shallow. That's why we were caught. In fact, I myself was doing patrol and I was caught in the beach because I wanted to observe myself kung totoo nga yung report na nag-recede yung tide. Because normally, pag nag-recede yung tide, ang pumapasok sa ulo natin, tsunami, wala naman lindol. Kaya maraming nakakita. Yung iba naman po, mabuti sa ibang area, nung nakita nila yung nag-recede yung tide, tumakbo kagad sila ng malayo, like in Anibong. Many of them ran up the hill when they saw that. So that's what I want to point out, that it's important now because as a mayor, kahit sabihin nyo nga, 5 meters, 7 meters yung storm surge, we don't know how far. I just have to rely on a map that is given to me, which is what we did. Now, another important thing is there was some confusion as to what time the typhoon would actually arrive. In fact, I was there in our meeting that the meeting was scheduled for 8 o'clock a.m. And one of my city planner, his son is a MiG officer in the army, and he was asked to report. And he was there in the camp when the storm surge came in, and he died. Okay? So, that's why maraming namatay because hindi rin nila matansya anong oras dadating yung bagyo. So I think, that's why I was proposing, when we do now comprehensive planning, lalo na sa G1, which is the lookout post, we really have to construct cell phone sites that are storm-proof so that communication is vital, masabihan kami. Pangalawa po, naawa din ako sa dalawang kay Secretary Mar at kay Secretary Glasmin kasi nag-report yung staff ko na pumunta nga sila sa City Hall. At sa City Hall, meron kami mga tao sa baba that took shelter and even the roof was destroyed and eventually they went to Tacloban City Police Office. It's difficult because the place we were supposed to meet that morning at 8 o'clock, nilipad na rin yung bubong. So I think it's about time. I hope Congress will agree that we should have a headquarters every region for the NDRRMC. That's storm-proof. So they can now control this matter because everybody was moving around and it was difficult to get decisions and information and all of this. Kaya ho, lahat ko nahirapan. Ako po, naging problema lang kasi dito dahil, well, of course, being an elected official, I have to answer to my constituents, and every day they were bugging me and asking me questions. And they were asking for help, and they were asking for relief, and they were asking for this. And it's important that our people know on the ground, especially the public, that rescue is coming and help is coming. Now, I just have to react lang here in the best way I can, that with regard to Secretary Rojas' mention about Code Red, I came here in the Senate and I brought out the issue of a letter because it was emphasized to me in our meeting, sir, that you were worried because it is a gray area that the national government was helping us unless they got the letter. So we had a meeting close to an hour and I was asking why is it illegal or a gray area. Because I was concerned, of course, for any government official, if it is a gray area, there might be some hesitance on your part. That's why I was asking clearly what was the problem. Kaya po, nung tinatanong ko yun, at in-explain nga niya sa akin na kailangan na may trigger mechanism yan at kailangan ng sulat galing sa inyo kasi hindi maibigay ng sanggunian a resolution. Because in essence, what we were discussing was, were we a functioning government? Of course, we were a functioning government because, first of all, our CSWD was working with the DSWD. In fact, they were already sleeping there. Our engineers were clearing the road. I mean, not in the capacity, full capacity of how we used to operate before. And it was difficult also for me to call people in because you have to understand, in the first few days, there was no food. And they were busy getting food and trying to secure their families. So ako naman, sinasabi ko na when we say functioning, we cannot give basic services. It's really purely on rescue. That's why I was asking for more manpower to come in to the city. Why? Because Tacloban City is the food basket of the region. There are many warehouses there, punong-puno ng mga bigas, puno ng pagkain, which kaya pa rin pakainin ng buong region. So I wanted that secured. Pangalawa ho, nandun yung central bank. We have more than 60 banks. And during that first week, for 3 days, they were continually looting Robinson's Mall. And the entire mall was looted and destroyed without really any response. So I have to answer these people who are coming to me and saying, anong pwede bang magawa? Now, I believe Taclobanos are reasonable. If we just tell them and you just be honest, well, we tried, but that's all the manpower we had. And that's all we could do. So I believe being transparent to the people and just telling them, ano ba yung kaya natin? Kaysa naman sabihin na hindi kami gumalaw dahil dapat nag-declare ka ng code red at dapat may sulat. Hindi ho yun ang hinahanap natin dito. Dahil dati naman po akong congressman at alam ko naman, ang hinahanap natin dito ay tanggalin na natin yung red tape. We have to operate and we have to do and address the help immediately. It was difficult for me in the ground because when the looting started at the same time po, on Sunday, when the president arrived, people saw how many military and how many police. May tao pala. Bakit hindi naman kami secure dito? Yun ho ang binabago sa akin. Now, when the good secretaries took over the Tacloban City Police Office, I, for one, as the mayor, know that the secretary of the DILG heads all police. And the Secretary of National Defense, ganun din sa secretary. So ako, nakita ko yun, pero ang naging problema nung Sunday pa, ay nagkaroon ng jailbreak right beside po the Tacloban City Police Office. Now, when that jailbreak occurred, 160 inmates escaped. And then a rumor was going around the city that most of the ones that escaped were hardcore criminals, etc. So it scared the people. So, what are our contingencies there? Were there enough jail guards still there during that time when it happened? So I'm just saying, what we have to look at here very carefully is how we can adjust and see. And let's talk about augmentation. We are asking that the chief of police was there. He reported 26 policemen only showed up the first day after the storm. Most of the policemen were deployed in the shelter areas. Why? Because of the forced evacuation. When the storm hit, maraming tinamaan. I mean, we had shelters that were 600 meters away from the shore and it still got to the second floor because it was not expected. So maraming police nandoon and marami po, ang nangyari noon, walang cellphone, so hindi nila alam sinong buhay, sinong patay. Pero ako as the mayor, obviously, even me, I cannot function if I know that my son is missing. I cannot function if I know my brother is missing. We cannot force them. But, if that was immediately augmented and you brought in fresh troops, that's what I'm saying, now to be able to help control the situation. I understand the discussion we had about the curfew. And we discussed that with the Sanggunian. I told them that, okay, if you need an ordinance, come up with an ordinance. Nagkaroon mo kami talaga ng delay nun. Pero, ang dinidiscuss ko naman mo talaga doon, ang pinipilit ko doon is, maglalagay tayo ng curfew, ang kinakatakutan ko, walang fiscal at walang court. Kung manghuli kayo, paano makakaano ng bail yan? lalong dadami at dadami pa yung mga uhulin, lalong lalaki yung problema natin. Besides, the looting was was occurring during the day. It was not happening at night. And even with the curfew sign alone, people were very cautious. In fact, what we saw, checkpoints were very effective, more than actually just the curfew. Now, with the augmentation, Congressman, tinanong niyo po earlier, I think kailangan i-bring out din na most cities in the Philippines, whether it be Makati, whether it be Cebu City, lahat po yan, ang mayor, ang city government tumutulong sa police. Kasi kulang na kulang talaga yung support sa national police. They don't have enough equipment, they don't have enough cars, they don't have even enough fuel. So, now to convince the businessmen to start operating again and to have peace and order in Tacloban City, we have to augment our expenses and help provide fuel and even mobility to the police so we can guard them. Kasi ang difference po ng Tacloban City is that our population is 248,000. But during the day, it's 1 million. And you have 60 banks. You have 5 Jollibees. You have 3 universities, 5 colleges. So how do you now support that? Hindi naman pwede. Kasi nag-react nga po dito dahil humihingi talaga ako ng augmentation kay Secretary Abad. At sinabi niya, dapat nga hindi mo binabayaran yan. Dapat hindi gastos ng syudad yan. Ang national dapat sumagot yan. Yes, be that as it may, I still have a problem now there. I feel the national government should empower the local government so we can move and we can fix these problems faster and even more efficiently. And we can even do it together. So this is just my suggestion and my reaction to the augmentation na sinasabi lang po doon. Now, with regard to preparation, I think it's important because what makes Tacloban City and the region different from all other disasters is that we have to remember that the secretaries were on board before, during, and after. So, what does this mean? Does this mean that the national government is already on board? Or it's just the secretaries? Let's talk about first response. If there is a paramedic and a doctor, will the doctor say, well, the first responder is the paramedic, then we follow as doctors? So, yun ho, pag-isipan natin mabuti. Kasi yung mga empleyado rin ng City Hall, nung nakita naman nila, nandun yung mga secretaries, immediately after, right after the typhoon, our payloader went. Our barangay captains were pulling bodies. In fact, they were clearing the road going to Coca-Cola. In fact, the following night, I had to look for the payloader and bring it back myself because the following night, Saturday night, doon lang nalaman ng operator na nawawala yung misis niya. So he left his loader and he rushed. So I had to bring it back. So there are situations, and there will be situations in the future in which these things will happen. And I think sometimes we're very cautious, and I think right now we have to give some leeway, especially to the National Disaster for Risk Reduction, leeway, and to the local government, and even to the region, when a disaster happens like this, there has to be some leeway, but there has to be also a workshop with LGUs. Especially when it comes to, kasi ho kami nasa ground. I live in Tacloban every day. I know these people, I see what's happening. There's a lot of things that we can contribute and we can do to save even some of the resources of the national government and even make it faster. And another point, we're all talking about survivors, and we're talking about infrastructure. Meron na akong gustong itagdag. Pag-usapan naman natin ko yung mga patay. Kasi yung patay, umabot po ng 3,000 plus. 2,000 plus, but 700 to 800 ang missing. Okay. In Tacloban City, when we retrieve a body, which by the way, up to today, we're retrieving at least an average of 3. When we retrieve a dead body, it is brought now to the NBI and the NBI processes that body. Why? It is processed because later on, if there is a loved one who is looking for her father or any relative, they can identify that body and give it to the relative. But apparently, from what I hear, why is it only Tacloban doing that? Why? That's why we had all these problems of having now the cadavers exposed. Because we lack, one, the technology. Hindi, walang capability ho ang syudad. Wala kaming pathologists or forensics. And maybe we can review this. But we should not finger point also, and I'm not doing that because, as we all agree, this was the strongest and most powerful typhoon. And nobody expected that many bodies to come out and to have this. And it's painful for me for the first 30 days. That's all I have to deal with. A lot of dead bodies there. So the processing, now, is it important? Or we just bury them as we see them? So ito ho yun, I think, is part of the, and it's very important because sa tao ho, malaking bagay ho yun. Mahal nila yung mga patay nila eh. We treat our dead safe. We cannot just leave them there. That's why the processing was important. In fact, a few days after that typhoon, the British Embassy were looking for 4 nationals. And we had to look for them and maibigay naman namin. So to put closure also to those families. Yun lang pong gusto ko i-raise. So I would really ask the committee, sirs, that please, I hope there's, and I'm asking the media that I hope wala nang spinning dito for politics or what. No, we really want to prevent more loss of lives. Because, you know, alam nyo, I've been there, they've been there, and you could see in the faces of the people talagang inaasahan lang talaga nila, tulong talaga ang inaasahan lang nila. Thank you.
Thank you. That's one point that has been brought out time and again, and that is the conduct of a review, IRR, laws, etc.
Mr. Chair, baka we can also get more inputs kay Mayor Javier.
Thank you, Your Honors. We are the boots of government on the ground. We take care of our people. There are 1,491 mayors, municipal mayors in this country. In Leyte, we have about 40 mayors, most of whom were victims of the Yolanda. Now, with this disaster, if a law, probably, or an amendment of the law would be effective, or if you need help from us, we were there, and we know exactly what happened and what we can do, and what best and how best we can improve this. For example, when the typhoon came in, there was no food. There was not food coming. We did not know if it was coming because the roads were all messed up. So, before the disaster, the governor and I talked about boarding up our equipment and our houses. So the next day, we were ready to clear the road so that the relief can flow from Matnog, where some relief goods were ready, because we were looking forward to also talk to the governor, and the Ormoc area was also the western hub, and then LAC of Palo, where the governor was stationed. Sir, we wanted to distribute all these rice that were supposed to be allocated to the mayors, because we had prorated all these the population according to different towns, no? So pag may dumating na 1,000, siguradong may allocation ng bawat bayan doon sa area namin. So nangyari po, walang gasolina, walang diesel, walang crudo, wala kaming telepono. So grabe ang nangyari dito, walang telepono, walang gasolina, walang kuryente. Wala po kaming kahit ano doon, kundi pag-asa na lang. So we really had to respond, and respond properly according to our basic instincts. So ang nangyari po, di nagkatulungan na lang, usapan kami ng mga ibang mayors, kung saan kami nagkakatakbo-takbo, Mayor, kung wala kayong makuha sa DSWD, punta kayo sa province. Kung wala kayo sa province, punta kayo sa DSWD. Because they're busy packing all this relief. And because of the enormity of the tragedy, this tragic typhoon, there's not a sane solution to this peculiar problem. Masyado pong horrific ang nangyari sa amin. So, ang nangyari, wala kaming gasolina. So, usapan na lang. The mayors were there intact. All of them. And I have to give credit to all the mayors of Leyte. They were there. They were helping their constituents. They were helping out each other. As a matter of fact, nung na-clear na ho namin yung kalye from Javier, Abuyog, Javier, Mayorga, Dulag, pagdating po namin sa Dulag, wala na kami ng gasolina. Sabi ko, oh my God, paano nang gagawin namin dito? So kinomandir namin yung gasolina ng kasama naming mayor. Sabi niya, boss, wala kaming bomba. Sabi ko, may dala akong genset, ay yung gasolina. So we were able to natahak ko namin up to Palok, no? And on the way, so many dead bodies. We were running on adrenaline because we forgot to bring food. There were 60 of us and we did not have breakfast, lunch, dinner, and 36 hours of clearing. We were the Moses of Leyte, clearing up the sea of debris with all the concrete posts. And by the way, for your information, ladies and gentlemen, we did not see a single electric post that was standing up in that whole 70 kilometers. That was how strong the typhoon was. And it changed the whole landscape of Leyte. And that, after that crazy, I might call it crazy, venture.
Well, ang problema namin sa Tacloban, yung latest count namin, only 5% of the city has electricity. And that's very difficult because, as I said, Tacloban City is the economic hub. And now you will see that there are many people that are already displaced and they're waiting that many of these businesses open. And of course, they will not open until there is electricity also in the neighborhoods. Because pag nagkaroon ng kuryente sa mga residential areas, babalik na rin yung mga ibang pamilya at dadalhin yung mga anak nila para makapag-aral sa mga private schools. Kaya umiiyak din yung mga private schools. I had a meeting with them last week because sabi nga nila na bakit government schools lang tinutulungan. They're all crying now because they have only 10% of their students that came back. And the reason was there's no electricity. And this is very important and very crucial to Tacloban City because even, let's talk about food. We don't have now cold storages operating there. So what's happening? They're bringing in livestock. And since our slaughterhouse is 80% destroyed, so we're just making do with what we have and coupled with the bad weather. So this is the very important key factor that has to be addressed immediately, that I'm really hoping that other agencies can come in and give and really help out, because pag nag-umpisa kasi yan, makakatayo na kami sa sarili namin, lalo na yung syudad, especially in the economic side of it, no? Because especially all those people out there, most of them that were displaced are employees, and once these businesses open, they'll be getting back their jobs. So magkakaroon na rin sila ng pera, iikot na naman ang ekonomiya. So that's what we're really hoping na ma-fast track. Because right now, when I say 5%, it's only the major roads that have electricity and partially downtown area. And now they're trying to move into, but the biggest neighborhood like BNG, wala pa doon. Pati mga schools, almost all the schools wala pang kuryente. I would say 95% of the schools wala pang kuryente. The city hospital does not also have electricity, so it's difficult. So everybody's operating sa generator, which is very costly. Thank you, sir.
And thank you for briefing us about the...
ng bureaucracia. Kami nila Sir Balls, kung sino man ang nandun, rumisponde kami. Ang punto is, itong 1,260, sila yung galing sa labas na kinailangan i-airlift, kailangan i-clear mo ng airport, either i-airlift o kaya ilang trip, i-truck, no? Because nga, yung mga nandun, naging biktima. So hindi ibig sabihin ho na walang rumisponde. Kung sino yung nakapag-responde, rumisponde. In fact, during that first day, Mr. Chairman, yung aming communication system, bisikleta. Pumunta ka doon, maglakad ka doon, tanungin mo kung ano nangyayari doon. Kasi wala talaga, hindi mo malaman kung ano nangyayari, sinong buhay, sinong patay. Pumuntahan mo itong police station na ito, bisikleta ko at lakad. Yun ho ang sistema.
Secretary Ross, many people are asking, ba't wala kayong sat phone? I would have imagined that pagpunta rin yun, isang dosena na lang.
Walang load eh. But siguro oversight namin yan. Hindi namin siguro naisip na
Maybe it's another thing we can input into our amendments we'd like to put in all of those things. Para naman mas maganda atin. We have many lessons to learn from this. Thank you, Secretary Ross. Yes, Congressman Jason.
Augmented were pre-positioned or prepared outside of Region 8. At least as far as the PNP is concerned.
Okay.
No? The organic to Region 8 is roughly 6,500, roughly. No? Most of them, in various levels, were victims themselves, particularly those assigned to the eastern seaboard facing the Pacific. So sila mismo naging biktima. Kaya kinailangan na magpasok ng personnel na 1,260. At sa aming koordinasyon ni Secretary Bolts, nagkaroon ng coordination dahil sa lawak ng sasakuping bibigyan ng security operation, hindi pwede na mag-concentrate sa isang lugar lang. Dagdag mo doon yung reports na dahil naging biktima din yung mga NPA na nasa bundok, nagsibabaan, nagkaroon din ng security threat, not just in Tacloban, not just in Palo, Tanawan, Tolosa, not just in Leyte, but in Samar itself as well. So, yung hatian as between armed forces and PNP had to do with taking into consideration the broader regional and cross Visayas, that's 3 regions, security concerns. But para sa amin sa PNP, 1,260 ang idinagdag sa Region 8. Iba pa yung idinagdag sa 7 at saka sa 6.